It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Big thanks to Derek of Baker 6 Clan and our featured patrons, BooBoo_1, Kitty Catch. I saw she's in the chat room tonight. Greetings from Australia. Finlay and his Drudge, Seebeck Tribe, Curious KDB, Gene Hunter, Van Gustafson, I always mess it up, Van Gustafson, God, I gotta get that right someday, Curiosity Girl, Glowworm77, Kevin Stebetsy, and our new patrons, BA Wags 75, Roomba Cats, Stark AZ, MP Dreyer, Fishing Kitty, Wendland Bunch, and Jasperie. All right. Well, let's jump right into show 255 as we discuss Cache Types Part 2. And I'm going to welcome my cohort for the night. This is Derek.
Hey, everyone. Of course, they're asking, where's Jesse?
Jesse is no longer on the show.
For tonight. He's...
Oh, yeah, for tonight.
He's at a KOA that was supposed to have Wi-Fi,
nope.
And it didn't. So.
Yeah, he's traveling. He's traveling back from visiting family and seeing Derek in Memphis. So
yeah, we had a little hike.
Yep, you got a little hike. Yep.
It was 6.6. It was 6.66 miles. I mean, so it was of the devil. Jesse got poison ivy. We got chiggers. I got 2 ticks. So I didn't get poison ivy, but Jesse did. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we got most of the caches I'd already done. There was a few that I didn't get, and got first stages on a couple of multis. But we didn't have the tools as we were out there to actually go get some of the other ones. But it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. It was hot. Memphis felt like he was going to sweat to death. I was fine because I live here now.
Yeah, but he's been in Colorado for so long now. He's lost his southern humidity tolerance. Yeah, put it that way.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't too bad. It was in the 90s, but I think it was probably about 80 to 90% humidity too those days.
Yeah.
But mosquitoes, oh man, I think I lost a pint of blood from mosquitoes. But and then of course chiggers all over my ankles. I had long pants on. Jesse had short pants, and then he got, of course, the poison ivy. So
yes,
but that's caching. That's what that is. That's why there's those negative attributes.
That's right. Negative, right? It's a negative attribute. Chiggers.
Chiggers. They don't have a chigger attribute, but it's mosquito and biting insects, isn't it? Is that the one?
Yeah, maybe that should be one for sure.
Chigger should be one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you live in a part of the world listening that doesn't have chiggers, then thank your lucky star.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Chiggers, they're really tiny and you can't really see them, and they'll crawl up your leg and they will bite and drive you insane.
And the thing is, when you finally actually feel them, they're already gone. then it's like it gets really bad about a day or so later.
Yes.
And they're a mite, and actually what they do, they liquefy. It's like they're drinking your skin through a straw. They liquefy it, and that's what hurts. Yeah, wear pants. I do wear pants.
It's still got in there.
I've heard chiggers called the pervert of the insect, because they get into the nether regions and they get into those tight places.
They go on.
No matter what you wear.
Now, one thing that I do, I don't know if you've done this before, Derek. What I tend to do when we go out for things like that is literally take a whole can of off.
Right.
And I take my socks, I basically soak it in off and then put my socks back on, because that usually will keep them. Yeah, Daryl was talking about Jesse wearing pants.
Oh yeah, okay, Jesse wearing
pants.
Keep
away the poison ivy. Yeah.
That would have been. Well, he was like, well, we're doing a trail, so I don't need to wear pants because it was going to be like a paved trail. Well, the caches were off in the woods. We're going to do some bushwhacking.
Yeah. I do not cache anymore without pants on. And that sounds weird. I do not cache in shorts. Is that a better way to put it?
That sounds much better.
Yeah, I always wear jeans to cache in just because. And I basically soak my ankles down in off because it's so bad here.
Yeah. One of the things
are really bad.
Right. And one of the things that we actually found here, not sponsored, but my wife does doTERRA, the essential oils, and there's a product called TerraShield. And one of the Geocaching with Kids, Curtis mentioned TerraShield, not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
But really, really works really great. And especially here, I don't know what it is. It just works really great as the TerraShield here. So, I think I was out yesterday for a little bit and I put some on, and several of the guys that I was with got welted up by mosquitoes, and I'm sitting like, I'm fine.
You're fine, yeah.
You guys are having.
I was out yesterday and got some, but it wasn't too bad. But
yeah.
All right, let's do a little bit of news. Let's see. This is just a little bit of soft news, so it's not like really big. Nothing big. So we got a couple items for tonight. I'll start off and then I'll hand off to Derek. He's got one he wants to mention tonight as well. Just a quick reminder, Waymarkly is out there. It's available to purchase. I think it's $4.99 for iOS only, I understand, because it's sort of from the makers of Cachely. So we're working on getting Nick set up for a show, a 7.0, because apparently there's a lot of cool things in the next version of Cachely that we can talk about one night. But also wanted to mention tonight about Right in the Rain discount. So don't forget, we're already past halfway into the month, and this code Geocache21 is good until 8/3. So it is Geocache21, all one word, and you'll get 20% off your order on top of if there are any other discounts. So it's only for Geocache Talk listeners. Thank you, Right in the Rain, for being a sponsor. Right in the Rain has such great products. In fact, next week, we're going to have Sean on at the beginning of the show for a few minutes to talk about some of the cool new products that Right in the Rain has come out with. So hopefully that will give you some more incentive to go out and spend a few dollars. Use Geocache21 for your order, and that is well
worth it.
Well worth it, and also just as a thank you to Right in the Rain, and that lets them know that people listen to the show.
Right.
People are will patron them with these codes so that they know that they want to keep supporting our show because of that. So
right. Yeah, that is such a great product, the Right in Rain. I mean, I use them in a lot of my caches,
Yeah.
And everything. So really, really cool. All right. So the one that I want to mention is we've had Thomas. If everybody remember Thomas from a couple, I think it's about a month or so ago, was doing the geocaching video game. And I've gotten to play it some, and it's hey, let me tell you, it's really cool. There's just a few caches in there right now, but it's pretty empty right now, and he's really looking for people to play the game, kind of testing it out a little bit, and also to find locations in the actual game when you're playing where you want to place caches. So you get to place a cache technically in the video game. So what you need to do is go to his Facebook page and send him a message and tell him that you're willing to it. And there's like some forms that you may have to fill out. And there's some instructions, but it's at facebook.com TFTC or /TFTC, the game. Once again, that's facebook.com /TFTC, the game. Go check it out. Get to play around. He'll send you, if you get selected, he'll send you a key. You'll get to play, run around the 3D world. Very interactive. You can go everywhere. I mean, I ran off the map the other day. Literally ran off the map and fell off the map at the point. I mean, put us to that. And there's some really cool aspects of it.
You lost your motorcycle.
I lost my motorcycle. I was riding a motorcycle. I lost it. And so I've been about every day, Thomas and I talk back and forth. I'll be playing and we'll talk back and forth and adding some different aspects of it. So eventually we'll be able maybe to respawn your motorcycle somewhere, because I was out in a field somewhere and I got off of it and now I can't find it. There's a drone aspect to it now that you can stop at a place and fly a drone
inside the video game.
Right.
Which will help you kind of look around a little bit to see where you're at.
Yep. It kind of gives you a little bit more of the lay of the land. There's an aspect of where you can swim, and he's working on maybe be able to put some underwater caches.
Yep.
There's some gadgets in there that you get to play, and they're not, the descriptions on the caches aren't there, but you can kind of go around and play, and find the different aspects of it. And there's different little hidden things that you can find, but it's a lot of fun. Like I said, there's about 4 caches in there right now. To answer the Pizza Ninja, no, the motorcycle was not trackable, because if it was, I would be able to find it.
Oh, that's right. Right. No,
but I've been enjoying it. A lot of fun. It's really cool. But go send Thomas a message at facebook.com /TFTC, the game, and he'll be able to send you a key if you're selected to be able to do that. And just let him know that you heard about it here on Geocache Talk.
Yeah, perfect. All right. And then also just to let people know that off screen is an enormous vat of beans. And I can't even lift it up. That's how big it is. We
don't want to be eating it. There's too many beans. It'll kill everybody.
No, but I can't spill any beans because this vat of beans is so enormous that it's going to take like a forklift.
So let's put it this way. If I even have a hint that he's going to be spilling the beans, something like this will happen. He's out of the show. I know what it is, but won't be able to do anything. So just that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So anyway, but just know that there's a lot going on in the background, and it's not the original can of beans though. I've seen the OCB. I saw that at 14er in Woodstock, and all of them, Tom, every one of them, it's a big vat of beans, but I can't spill them.
Even some sprouts are thrown into that.
Yeah. All right, let's get into sort of cache types part 2. Something called Where I Go. I don't know what it is, so we're moving on. All right, next one is
if Jesse's listening, he's like, no.
Would hate. Yes, Jesse like, no. Where I Go caches, GPS-enabled adventures in the real world. They use GPS technology to guide players to physical locations where they can interact with virtual or physical objects. Where I Go caches can have different designs. They can overlap. There are some cool aspects of Where I Goes that I think we slough off because we're like, I've had bad experiences. I know a lot of people had bad experiences with Where I Goes. We had one where we went through this thing for an hour, probably or more, trying to get to the end of it, and there was no way to complete it. So it was frustrating to no end that it's like, all right, we just wasted an hour of our caching time
Right.
trying to do this where I go that can't be completed. But I mean, I've seen some that are kind of cool. We did the ones that going caching together.
Right.
That was kind of fun where you walk around. It's kind of
Drunken Sailor one.
Yeah, it's Drunken Sailor one where you kind of walk in. It's sort of like an invisible grid that you have to walk around in.
Was it like a 6x6 grid? I think it was. Yeah. You had to go to different points of it.
Different points of it. It's kind of, I mean, there are some aspects to it I can see. You know, so anyway. So
yeah, and I've done very few, just because every place that I've always been at, there really haven't been a lot of them. So I mean, I think the closest one to me here is over an hour away.
Right.
Yeah, just when Jesse was here, we talked about and that 6.6 miles about putting one out. But on their website there is a builder that you can go and do and walk you through it, and y'all have done shows on it. So, but I just haven't put one out here. I mean, it would be a really cool aspect for here because there's so many mysteries in this location. I couldn't do a geo art in town with using mystery cache, but I could probably do it with Where I Goes.
Right.
And that would be the only way that it would actually stick out because there are no other Where I Goes in this area.
Yeah, it's and there are ways you can take. Some people are like, "Oh, the reverse Where I Go one is lame because you can use the there's an app to read, to give you an answer real quick for it." But I kind of like the one that they did that with. It was sort of a double. It was a double Where I Go, or it's a multi Where I Go, in the sense that the reverse Where I Go, yes, you can use an app for that, and it took you to a location, but the location wasn't the cache. At the location was like a stage one that you could then take that information and go to the final. I thought that was kind of a cool little twist.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Ranger Fox is a builder. There's really two builders that I like. I like his, and I like the Year We Go. It's a Czechoslovakia, I think, is where it comes from.
Yeah, Jesse and I were talking about that one this last weekend.
Here we go. That's a good one. All right, let's dive into the next one, which I'll talk about briefly. And so one thing, too, I want to preface tonight with, and that is we had a person complain about our cache type show. And what I kind of wanted to point out was we are mentioning things they're straight out of the help center. So it's straight from geocaching.com. So if you have a problem with it, then you have a problem with geocaching.com and the help center, and you can go deal with them. We're not making anything up. We're just reading what's in the notes. Now, I don't think I need to point out the fact that there are things we're going to mention tonight that aren't true cache types. They're aspects of a cache type. So I think that I don't know why somebody was confused about this, because like we might talk about the chirp caches. Well, that's not a separate cache type. We know that.
More of an attribute.
It's an attribute, but it's in the notes.
It's listed as a cache type in the help center. It's
in the cache type section. So just remember that. So if you have any questions, if you're fairly new to geocaching and you're like, well, why can't I put out a virtual? We can expound later on why, but we're not really going to get into those kind of things. But there are aspects that we're going to talk about tonight that are just in the notes. So they're in the help center. So we're going to talk about them. So anyway, that being said, next one up is virtual. And I thought this is interesting. I was reading again in the help center. The help center says some interesting information. I think it's always, like I said, it's always fun to go through the help center. Virtual cache is about discovering a location rather than a container. Thought that was interesting.
Right.
Kind of like an earth cache. We'll talk about earth caches later too. The requirement for logging the requirements for logging a virtual cache vary. You may be required to answer a question about the location, take a picture, which I thought they took away that as a requirement.
I think it's more of you can't take a picture of yourself. You can't be required to take a picture of yourself.
Right. Correct. For privacy laws. Complete a task. I'm trying to think. Have you ever had to complete a task for a virtual?
I mean, what do you mean by task? I mean,
I don't know.
If you're answering a question, that can be considered a task.
Well, that's in there. No, answer a question is already in there, though, Derek.
Would it be solving a cipher? Would that be a task?
I would think that would be, yeah.
Yeah, then so yes, that's how mine is.
Yeah, I would think, yeah. So I guess completing a task, I just thought that was cool. I thought, yeah. I would like to see, of course we can't do more virtuals right now, maybe one day, but
if they come out with the 3.0, yeah.
Yeah, maybe hope. Let's cross our fingers and hope for that. In any case, you must visit the coordinates before you can post your log.
Oh, here, Direwolf said, like counting the number of red bulbs, light bulbs on a marquee. So that would be a task. So that's a good one.
Yeah. Task. Good example. There's a good example. Yeah. Thank you, Direwolf. Yeah. That's a good. And those can, if they're done right, I think they can be a lot of fun. Now, if it's just, it kind of falls into that adventure lab. If you do an adventure lab well, you'll walk away and you'll be like, oh, that was a lot of fun. If you don't do adventure lab very well, I think we've all maybe seen these.
Right.
I'm at a very cool, whatever it could be. That's a very historical location.
Right.
Counting squares. What does that have to do with the person that is being honored here, at this location? There's a cool statue of this person.
Right.
And yet I'm counting squares that don't really fit with it. Now, if it carries the theme,
right,
then I'm okay with it. But if I'm just counting the letters in a word, I mean, I don't know. I think we all have to. That's a show for Adventure Labs, but
right.
I think if we all do Adventure Labs, they don't all have to be like that. But I do like, and sort of like the same thing with virtuals. If you do a virtual, Mike's done a multi-virtual. That's a cool idea too. I guess.
Cool idea.
Yeah, that's very unique. But
it is. I've never done one of those.
No, Virtuals 3.0 is not the vat of beans. Although that vat of beans over there has got a lot of cool stuff in it.
It does, but it's not that. We have no idea if there's a 3.0 or not. It would be cool.
That would be cool.
But don't know. Now, when you were talking about Adventure Labs, to me, an Adventure Lab, and I've said this in a previous video, to me, Adventure Lab is basically a combination of 3 different cache types to me.
Yeah.
Virtual, multi, and where I go. That's kind of, to me, that's what an Adventure Lab is, because it has all those different aspects of it. And then if you have, and I don't think we have this in our notes, but there's an attribute called bonus cache. And if a lot of these Adventure Labs have that bonus cache that you can get that.
That become very popular. Yeah.
Right.
We talked about. And that's something that Samantha's mentioning. She did an Adventure Lab that had a real cache as a bonus. Is that normal? Yes, Samantha, that's really becoming.
It is.
More common. I think bonus caches used to be not as, I guess it depends on where you're at. I shouldn't say,
right.
I shouldn't be too definitive.
Well, on the bonus cache,
on
one of the multis that Jesse and I were doing this last week, inside the tunnel, there was a little trackable, and it was actually for a bonus cache.
Cool.
We didn't go after it. I mean, we had to do some, we had like another 5 miles to walk, but and I don't know where it was. I think we pulled it up and it was like, okay, that's way off of our path. We're not going to go do that one right now, but I know where it's at now. So, but that was just another aspect of bonus cache too. My Adventure Labs, I don't have bonus caches in it. I have one here in Memphis, which I could, but all the 30, 40, 50, 100 people or whatever done it now, if I put a bonus cache out, would get to miss out on that. And then the other one that I have is actually in Washington State. I'm not there to maintain it. So, and I'm really big on maintaining my caches. So
Yeah.
I'm not there to maintain it. My mother-in-law's in the area, but I don't want to put that burden on her
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
Yeah. Your Jeff is correct. Yeah. They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Some people do, and yes, they have to be a mystery type. You are correct. I think that there's, I don't think they were as prevalent. Oh, mystery cache trackable code. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, there was, I've seen bonus caches before. I just think that we see them more often now because of the explosion of adventure labs and the fact that you can do a bonus cache as part of your adventure lab. We're seeing a lot more bonus caches. So
yeah.
Okay, so virtuals on June 14th, 2019 and August 24th, 2017, Geocaching HQ offered a select cache hiders. I was not one of them.
I was.
The opportunity to hide one virtual cache, and then they directed you to some blog post to discuss further. If you like virtual caches, you may be interested in adventure labs or waymarking.
Right. And there's a new app for that.
There's an app for that, Waymarkly. Okay, next in the list, 2.12 challenge caches. What is a challenge cache? Well, let me tell you.
There's a whole show about it.
You might want to watch a show called Challenge Talk. Every month on first day of the month, first Thursday of the month. So
yeah, and
Challenge Talk.
Jeff in the Cache Line is in the chat tonight,
yep.
So he's one of the hosts. I didn't see Emily in there, but she may be out. Emily caches a lot, so she may be out on the road somewhere.
Yep. Jeff does a lot too.
Yeah, he does.
But he usually is back home by this point. A challenge cache requires seekers to find an associated physical cache and to find an additional set of geocaches as defined by the challenge owner. Challenge caches encourage geocachers to set and achieve fun goals. Examples of challenge caches: find a cache every day of the calendar year.
Yep, I've got that one.
Which is tricky. That's for another show. Or find every difficulty and terrain combination. You can't do a 366 though, which is, I think.
No, but you can get the coin. I have the coin.
There's a coin.
Still buy the coin for it, but you can't do that one.
There's weird. I'm just. I know you have to wait 4 years to complete one, but okay. Anyway, all right, moving on.
And for part of challenge caches, if you're wondering, those will be mystery caches.
Yes,
and of course, like I said, we have a whole podcast on this, and they go in more detail on it. So we're just really scratching the surface of this. But mystery caches, and a lot of people will use those challenge caches to help with their streaks. If they end up they sign it, you can sign, and this is the one that you can sign and put a note on. And before you and then you complete the challenge, and then you can log it that as a found. So you put a note on it, and it's really cool when you put a note on it, and if you use Project TC, it'll actually track it for you for when you do it, and then it'll give you a little check mark if they've done the correct challenge checker on it. Right. And there's some other, and Jeff can go into a lot more information on that and on Challenge Talk. So and Jesse wrote a book on it too. So I mean, there's a book about it. You can find that at the store, online at the Geocache Talk.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff points out about the 365 is a 1 year loop, 360 is potentially 4. I understand, but I still think that I don't know. Okay, I'm over it now. Samantha asked the question: do you have to be a premium member to be successful at finding challenge caches?
No. Well, no, because I have one. There's one out here that I have that you have to have. I'm trying to look at find 1001 caches challenge, and there's not that one. There's one. I'm looking at my challenges right now that I've signed. Because you can find a 1.5 and not be a premium member, correct? is any higher than 2. I think is what it is. If you're a premium member, if you're not a premium member,
Yeah, there is a
so
level.
right. So this one you have to find. This challenge is you have to find 500 1.5 difficulty terrain DT
Mm-hmm.
to be
Right.
able to do it. So you could easily find that, and like Jeff just said, nope, basic members can do challenge cache as well. And you just got to find them. And you can, if you use Project GC, you can search for challenges in your area using Project GC. It's
Right.
easier that way.
Yes. He also mentions about challenge caches can't require premium membership only caches. So interesting.
Right.
But it does bring up why wouldn't you be a premium member? I know that it's $30 a year or whatever, but I'm thinking, come on, we can all come up with $30, can't we?
It's less than, it's only 5 cups of coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably less than that.
Right. But anyway.
4, depending on what coffee you get.
Go through your couch and find all the pennies and maybe you can come up with $30. But that's not really, I know money is tough for a lot of people, but if you can swing it, it's well worth it. Let's put it that way. So,
yeah.
All right. And we are going to get into legacy caches a little later. So we'll get into the dark side of challenge caches, the ones that are still out there, the legacy ones that you can still claim, but you can't make anymore. Actually, that's for
another podcast.
That's for another podcast. So, but it is listed on the legacy one, which I think is fascinating. Here in a minute, we'll get to that. Okay. Next one is Beacon 2.18 Beacon caches. This one is a real head scratcher, I think, for many. I've been caching for 15 years, just past 15. Back on the 7th of July, 2006 is when I started. I have done 0. I've done.
I got you beat by one. You've
done 1. We attempted 1 because somebody had a Garmin that could do the chirp part, and we couldn't. The cache was we couldn't find the cache. I think it was missing, or who knows. Or we just suck at geocaching. That's also possible.
Then that's how we had to do it too. We were at a gadget event, and there's one out there, and we had to wait for somebody with a Garmin. Now, there are some others now.
There are,
and we've actually on Gadget Talk we've actually talked about one of these, and that's the actually a couple of them. The NFC Transmitter, which you can use with your phone.
Right.
So you come up and you can do that, and that works as a beacon. And then also a Wi-Fi router, where some of the gadget builders are actually putting Wi-Fi routers in there using Raspberry Pi, or they're using their Arduino, and you can actually get a little Wi-Fi router that they will have to put in the URL and get into the router through their Wi-Fi on their phone, and they can get other information to be able to access different parts of it to be able to get into the cache itself. So those are 2 others, or of course radio transmitter.
Sure.
That would probably be a little bit more expensive than the NFC one.
Yeah.
NFC anymore. I mean, you can literally, I was seeing if I had one on my desk, but I don't. They're like a sticker. And you can stick it on there and you're good to go. So it's almost like a little more expensive of a QR code.
Sharon never heard of one, which don't feel bad because they're
very rare.
Really rare. Teresa mentioned that there's an app on Androids that can do a chirp. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. There's supposedly one you could do it on an Apple phone, on an iPhone, but I've never been able to get it to work. So
yeah, Direwolf mentions about the NFC setting on your phone. I've attempted that too, and
there's an app to change it up. Yeah, there's an app for if you're Android, it's really easy. But if you're on a iPhone, there's an actual app, and I can't remember the app. I'd have to go back through some other notes to find it. But you can download an app that actually eliminates that because it's the way Apple doesn't want it running all the time. So
it mentions it's called Chirp. So just in case people, if you have an Android app and you'd like to try to create one, the app is called Chirp. So that's really cool. Yeah, I've seen. And I actually did. Maybe I should say this. It wasn't a beacon But I've done a cache where you pull up to a location, you change the channel on your FM, audio to, one of the low bands like 87.8 or something.
Right.
And when you listen to it, it's not very long. It's sort of like how you get Christmas music. Sometimes,
Right.
have you ever done that?
Yeah, there's some what we call it the Griswold's house down
Yeah.
where close to my parents. They have one of those really big light shows.
Right. We have one in town that Susan and I love to go by and sit and listen for a while. You just listen to it on your radio. But it was one like that, and you listen. It wasn't very long, but it had some music, and then this guy would come back on and go, that was Jimmy Dorsey with it. Well, that's probably old. That's probably more old. But anyway, and then they would go, oh, and the coordinates are, and he'd give you part of the coordinates, and they'd do another song, and then he'd come back and go, and that was so-and-so, and the west coordinates are, and so I guess it's kind of a beacon, right?
It's like it falls underneath that radio transmitter part, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
So I guess that would be a beacon. It's not necessarily the beacon that you have to use the Garmin or the Chirp to be able to do it.
I think it's cool.
So, and to answer, somebody said, yeah, it's not native to iPhone. And I'm talking, when I tried this, I think it was probably about 5-6 years ago. There was somebody was playing around with a Chirp for the iPhone, and the app just went away. I don't even think you can find it anymore. I don't even remember what it is. So
you have those gadgets where you come up and you put something on it and it'll open up? Where is that? It's transmitting some kind of information.
The NFC or the
it must be
Wi-Fi,
NFC, right?
NFC. It can transmit. It's like a basic little antenna. It can have you can put some information on it. It's like a QR code where you don't have to use your camera. It's probably the easiest way for me to explain it.
Right.
You can have, I don't remember how much information you can have on it.
But you have those remote lock things where you can walk up and.
Oh, that's you're thinking of RFID card.
RFID. I'm sorry. Yes, RFID RFID. Could you use this attribute?
I don't think you could. No.
Okay, you wouldn't get away with.
No, but field puzzle, and that was mentioned last week. Well, for us gadget builders, and would be a field puzzle would be how we'd have to mark a gadget cache, and that's what I use.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about challenges, there's not a lot of challenges here in Memphis, and so Memphis and I were talking. Memphis about putting out a field puzzle challenge cache for basically so you'd be able to get gadgets using field puzzle attribute. So
RFID same as NFC.
No, because
near field communication. It is a near field communication.
Yeah, but true.
I think we're saying as RFID would be a subset of NFC. NFC is a more broader term.
Yeah.
I think you could get away with putting the beacon attribute. We're just talking about the attribute, by the way.
Right. Yeah. It's just an attribute, not a cache type. Let's clarify that. It's an attribute.
He has an implant. It's got that you scan and it gives give you his trackable code.
Okay.
Yeah. Potential.
Yeah.
Anyway, beacon caches. Go check them out. 2.18 in the help center.
Right. Remember, just to clarify, that is a attribute, not a cache type.
Right. It falls in the cache type section of the help center, and that's why we talked about it. So don't confuse the two. It's not its own cache type.
Right.
It falls in the cache type section of the help center.
Just like this next one that we're about to talk about, and it's camping event caches.
Camping event caches. So I did not know that this was in the help center. I mean, of all things, it's, I guess, kind of cool. They put this little section there, 2.19. We're up to 2.19. Camping events. And they actually have rules or, guidelines for how to do a camping event. Only one event listing during a camping event is publishable. Why? if only one event is listing as publishable, why would you make a second event? Oh well. I'm picking nits right now. The event listing should occur on one special calendar day that I've seen before.
Yeah.
And have a set beginning and ending time. Makes sense that you have to do that. This is kind of
it's just like an event, but you're camping overnight, but you can only count it. Say you're only counting, you come in on Friday to camp.
Yeah.
Do you count Friday night as you're camping, or do you count Saturday as the actual event? Or that's you can't do. I guess you can't do a multi-day event caching or multi-day camping trip, and you're counting Fridays one, Saturdays one, Sundays one. Those you get 3, and that's because you're all camping at one time.
Yeah, so they don't want you to do that kind of thing, where they don't want you to take an event, make it crossing a bunch of time. They want you to pick a calendar day for it.
Right.
Yeah. Attendees are permitted to log the event as attended. Okay.
It's an event.
Right. Regardless of how long they were there, that's another part to it. So, I mean, you kind of want people to go to the camping event for longer than a few minutes, but by the guidelines, they're not required to stay the whole time.
Right.
Which I understand. If you're doing a camping event, you're kind of wanting to hope that people are showing up and being at, that you're not just showing up and leaving to get the app, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. Cache Canada says, yeah.
You only need to show up. Yeah. And that's, and I've done an activity or a camping trip with Georgia Geocampers. And there were some that did come in just for the night because we were at a fort and they were doing some special stuff for us there.
Right.
And so they were able to come out for that event, and they're just like some other different things. And that was a lot of fun. Not everybody camped. I mean, some of them actually lived in town, so they went and slept in their own bed where everybody else is sleeping on the ground or in a hammock or wherever.
Yeah, wherever they were now.
So, I mean, that's, yeah. And then there was dinner and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was really fun about that.
Yep. And the area must be accessible by the public, not limited to campers only. That's another part of the guidelines. Also, it is permitted for a campsite to charge a small fee for access to the location. You know, that's something that I think comes up quite often in a, how to put this? It is a misconception when you ask a cacher, oh, can you do a cache at a location where people have to pay? Like, nope, you never have to make people pay. Actually, by the guidelines, as long as it's reasonable, then they are allowed to charge for an event as long as the amount is reasonable.
And so here's a question. What's reasonable?
Right.
I mean, there's here locally, we have
talked about, right.
Yeah.
You have one.
Here locally, we have an earth cache that used to be free to go to. Well, and it's at the Memphis Botanical Gardens. Yeah, that's what they're called. And now they've rearranged the exhibit, and now to be able to go see it, adults have to pay $10 to go into it. To be able to even just to find the cache to earth cache to actually log it. So it's $10 a person reasonable? I mean, money's reasonable to different people. Personally, if I'm just going in there to log a single cache, I'm not going to pay $10 to go do it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's a little high.
But it wasn't like that when it was originally put out. And now they've moved that whole exhibit. It's a petrified piece of wood. Now it's in ancient, I don't know, tree stuff, or I don't know remember what it's called. But yeah, they moved it completely, and you have to go through the entire botanical gardens to get to it. So I don't know. That's national parks. A lot of times, if there's caches in there, earth caches and stuff, you have to pay an entry fee to get into national parks. So
true. That's true. Yeah, but to me that seems reasonable. But that's
that to me that is.
UDAC asked a good question about what about if it's in a restaurant.
HQ will have a big problem about that. If it's actually in a restaurant.
I've been to events that have been in restaurants.
Been to events, yes, but you're not required to buy food. I was thinking of a cache.
Right.
I knew somebody that had a cache that was in a walkway at a restaurant, going out to docks, and it was completely open air, accessible 24/7. But because it was just right next to about 6 feet off from a table, they pulled it and he had to move it 6 feet. They put it somewhere else on another wall. But that's
well, and Dave and Karen are mentioning about they drove 5 hours for one Earth cache. It was important enough I'd pay $10 to get, and that's where the key is that if you feel like it's something that to me that it's worth it to you, then I guess it's considered reasonable. I mean, I guess I'm with you. I'm with you, Cache Canada. I mean, I would spend the $10, but we're not the norm.
Right. Well, and
we're not the normal people.
Now, $10 to get into the place, or $10 that you have to pay for parking. There's another aspect, because here in Memphis, one of the most favorited Earth caches, of course, one in the top, I think it's probably in top 10 or something like that, is the one at Mud Island. You have to pay for parking. Right. So, and
Mud Island is one of the top. It's in the 201 Geocaches Defined Before You Die. Shameless plug for the book, but yeah, it's in this book because it's an Earth cache that is highly favorited, and yeah, you got to pay to get it. So it's worth it. I mean,
and that's something I think you're going to have to decide on your own. We can't decide that for you.
Yeah, it's one of the top 20 in the United States that. So I mean, there's.
Cache Canada says great book.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Which, by the way, if you want we're plugging tonight, aren't we? The 201 Geocaches, worldwide Geocaches Defined Before You Die. Then not this version. This is my copy, not for resale. But in this book, for all our Canadian and Australian listeners, I have extra. I have Australia's in there, but also for Canada, I did a top 20.
Oh wow!
Top 20 most popular in Canada. So there you go. A lot of them in Quebec, by the way. Sort of a weird item about Quebec cachers loved to give their favorite points. Right. That's for another show. Okay. Let's get on to camping. We got that covered. All right. Next one, teamwork. 2.21 teamwork caches. Because we still got to get over to. Let's see. I got Earth caches down further. God, we got a lot to go. We got to get rolling. Okay. Teamwork caches. This one's a little confusing for folks, I think.
It is because
we think of them all differently. Teamwork caches in the Help Center 2.21 says. Teamwork caches are created cooperatively by two owners for different areas. This is straight from the Help Center, so don't come crying or don't yell at me. I'm just the messenger. They encourage two geocachers to work together to find a cache in the different areas. Geocachers trade information that leads each to the final container in their own area. Each teamwork cache must have the teamwork cache attribute, which is the two little people high-fiving each other. It looks like that's what I look.
That's they're high-fiving.
It looks like they're high-fiving each other.
Yeah, they're playing London Bridges. I don't know.
Be owned, we're playing London Bridge, one of the two. Be owned and maintained by a local cacher. Be placed in a region where there is a reasonable number of local geocachers. Wow, what a confusing guideline. What reasonable number? What's a reasonable number of local geocachers, Derek? I know you're going to ask.
2? I don't know.
So there will be plenty of partners for everyone. Have at least one additional stage with information needed to find the partner cache, and then have all of its stages, including posted and final coordinates, in the same area.
See, and I thought, to me, a teamwork caches is to gain access to the log takes more than one person, and on a single cache.
Right.
Like I have one that I created where
not Antarctica. Yeah, that's not a.
Yeah, we're not going to go there. It's to me, yeah, because I have one. I build a cache that it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 buttons on it that you have to push all at the same time to get into it.
Right.
You got to have at least 2 people
far enough apart. Mm-hmm.
Right. To be able to do that. And then Chad has one that's called It Takes 3. I would consider those as a teamwork cache, not necessarily. I don't know. I don't, by what they're saying, it's very confusing. There's a reason why not too many people have gotten that attribute, or it's very confusing.
Yeah. Cache Can is mentioning there's one in Ontario and one in Germany. I've seen those. In fact, we have on our website a location where you can work with somebody to create a teamwork cache.
And is that a teamwork cache, or is that a partnership? Not a partnership. It's not a partnership.
That's true. That's a partnership.
It's a.
God, these are confusing.
It's not a partnership, because don't get teamwork and partnership completely.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Because there is.
I'm almost confused.
Yeah, because I saw Cache Can mention there was a partnership done, and that was, I believe, the one you're referring to was with Dinosaur Train, which was a TV show that there was a partnership doing there. I would have thought the Ape Cache would have been a partnership one, but maybe that was
that's different. Yeah,
it is a different type of cache.
Yeah,
attribute,
that's even
not
more
cache,
different than
attribute.
Yeah.
So
well, Ape is the only kind like that. Those are caches that are in partnership.
Right,
with
that is a cache type.
20th Century Fox, and it is its own cache type.
Right. But why can't it be both? A partnership and its own cache type.
Yeah, I want to point out about partnership and teamwork are different. Yeah.
Right, and they are.
Because what you're talking about is not a partnership cache.
No.
Ape caches are not partnership caches.
No, it's its own cache type.
Well,
even though they partnered with 21st Century Fox.
Yeah, it was partnered with, but that's not. Yeah.
But it would happen in 2001, so maybe they didn't have that attribute yet. So
but it wouldn't work for that, because that's not what a partnership cache is.
Okay.
Yeah.
True.
Partnership caches are what you're talking about, which is, and they're not cache. Yeah, we know. Yeah, they're not partner. Partnership's not a cache type. It's a partnership is attribute. Yeah.
Right. That's an attribute.
It's listed. Not a cache type. Yeah, there's listed in the cache type. So,
Cache exchange. That's what you're looking for. Cache exchange.
Yeah, cache exchange is another one. Yeah, that's right.
That's not an attribute either. That's separate. That's completely separate. That's kind where somebody creates a cache and they send it to somebody else and they get credit for it, or in that location they hide it for them so they can.
But the teamwork attribute, like Jeff's saying, it isn't strictly enforced. When I think of a teamwork attribute, when I think of one, I think of it like you're talking about, like you have, which is like, I can't do it by myself. I need another person there to be able to push all the buttons.
Right. And I think even West Virginia Tim, the one that I don't know if it's
the one
where you're on the merry-go-round and you guys spin and make the other person throw up to get the little car out.
Well, he's got one. Yeah, that's true, because you couldn't do it yourself. I guess you could, but he also has the one where you have to be in. You literally have to have people in 2 different locations,
right?
To do the Arduinos to get it to work right. So
right.
All right. So hopefully we haven't confused people too much. Check out the show notes, or go to
the help center.
2.19 and 2.21. Sorry, in the notes, it does talk about the steps, and they have a description of cache in France, cache in Canada, and how you go about finding a partner, completing the cooperative stages, completing the other stages, find and locate the final. So they've got you a description of how to do it. So off you go. Go create one for us, please. Let us know if you do. geocachetalk@gmail.com. Love to hear more about your creating the teamwork. All right. 2.22 AR, augmented reality, and geocaching. we're not going to really go into this a lot because we've got a lot to cover tonight. We'll talk about it briefly. From June 6th, 2018 until March 6th of 2019, Geocaching HQ conducted an augmented reality experiment. During this time, cache owners were allowed to submit mystery caches that require the finder to download and use an AR app to find the cache. The goal of the experiment was to see how the geocaching community would use AR technology. The experiment is currently on hold, and new AR cache submissions are no longer accepted while we evaluate the results of the experiment. This is not the end of AR and geocaching. You can still find the published AR caches, and there's more to come. Stay tuned. I thought that was interesting how they worded that too.
Stay tuned. Yeah. And I've heard people talk in several different other podcasts. When I listen to the geocaching.com one podcast with a Rock Chalk and all that, and that has come up several times about the AR caches.
Yeah.
I've seen people do it. I know they had some when we were at Geo Woodstock. I was busy doing some other stuff. I didn't get a chance to do it. I was kind of sitting there watching and laughing at people as they're like dancing around like drunken sailors, looking at the ceiling with their phones.
Right.
Because I know I also saw Cache Canada. They said they've never done an AR cache either.
Oh, come on down. And
because you have one, right?
I got one. Yeah, here in town, and it was the first in Texas, but let me tell you, it's not the best one in Texas. If you're just into weird stats, you can come get this one because it's the very first one that ever got published in Texas. But it's clearly not. It's definitely not the best. But you go to a location, you pull up the AR app. I'm drawing a blank on what's the
Metaverse.
Metaverse, and you watch a little video and it gives you the coordinates. So it's nothing spectacular, but I have kept it going. So yeah, they can. They said they try one that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
I did a really cool one in Hot Springs, Arkansas, as part of an adventure lab, and it was pretty cool. I think just because if you've ever done anything with AR, it's got kind of a. I mean, if you're easily impressed by things, which I am, then I'm easily impressed by the AR. But you go to this one location, and I held up my phone and looked, and you could see on the side of the front of the building, when you held it up, it gave you the coordinates to the AR cache. So you had to go find that. But I thought that was kind of slick. I mean, I thought that was
that sounds cool.
It was kind of neat because just the way that the person put it into the AR. I mean, there's some really cool things that you can do. Again, with Metaverse, Owen mentioned about HP Reveal is gone. I don't know. I never got to use HP Reveal. There's some cool things in Metaverse. I mean, I just thought that was
right. And I know now Adobe, if you're an Adobe user like Premiere and all that, there actually is for your phone. You can actually create AR. And I was kind of playing around with it one day, and I had a dinosaur, and Curtis absolutely thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I had the dinosaur sitting on the desk or on the table in the living room in the kitchen. And so you can do it there, and you can do different things. You tap it, it roars, and so it's getting better, and I hope they do bring it back. And see what we can do because it could really do some different things now.
Has a little bit of that Pokemon Go feel to it a little bit, kind of where things right in front of you, and you're like, it's right here, it's on the kitchen table. It's so weird. So I mean, there's
one called Geosenses. So we actually, when you bring it over to a certain tree, it actually finds your physical cache, and you have to find it. I don't know. Call it Geosenses.
Right. So
there's one for you.
Yeah, there you go. There's one. Geosenses. Yeah. So okay. Anyway, ARs, they're out there. They are supposed to all be named AR _ whatever. just to let you know if you want to search for them. If you're curious, if you want to see all the AR caches, you can do a search for them on here. I'll see if I can pull it up here while we're talking about it. So here, I'll show my screen real fast. We show you do a search using AR, and there you go. And you go down the list and it shows you they all have it. See, there's mine. It's called AR_Oak Creek Park. It was placed on June 7th of 2018. It was last found almost exactly 3 years later.
Yep.
So, it gets a lot of favorite points. I mean, for me, for this area, some of them get a lot of favorite points. This one's got 128. So it can be a little favorite point machine. 138. There's one, but that's a long way away.
That's anyway, a letterbox AR too.
Letterbox AR. Hey, there you go. See, what a combo that is, huh?
That was placed on 2019.
I don't know if you can. Yeah. All right.
We're good. All right. And moving on.
All right. Moving on. So there's that. Okay. Next, let's briefly talk about GeoArt 2.25 GeoArt.
Once again, not a cache type.
Not a cache type.
Or correct. Even an attribute.
Nope. But listed in the Help Center under the 2.25 section called GeoArt. And I didn't know this. They really do have a little bit of guidelines. I never thought about it, but GeoArt does have some guidelines. It says that GeoArt is a collection of geocaches that have their posted coordinates arranged in a way to create an image or spell out a word, but there are some restrictions. Any cache type can be used to create GeoArt. However, in addition to the regular guidelines, some restrictions do apply. Letterbox hybrid and Where I Go cache finals should be no more than 2 miles. Makes sense. That's kind of the standard.
Same as a multi.
Yeah.
Not a multi. Sorry, mystery, not a multi.
Yeah, correct. Multi-caches that consist of a virtual waypoint and a projection will generally not be published when used for GeoArt. I thought that was interesting. Little point. I'll say that again just for everybody. Multi-caches that consist of a virtual waypoint and a projection will generally not be published. I guess maybe it's too much in one. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Make it maybe, I don't know. If you need advice about the guidelines of what to know if your GeoArt is publishable, follow these steps, and there's a link in the show notes to information about GeoArt. All right.
And we did a show, and when I say we, I mean you, did a show
right.
on how to make a GeoArt, and I think Ryan was on it, and of course Jesse and some other people on it. Now Jeff did say that it could fall under part of a power trail attribute, because a lot of times they could, because of it's that aspect of it. Right. But it's not an actual GeoArt attribute, but it could be a power trail attribute.
Right. I think GeoArts are sort of self-explanatory. They don't really need their own attribute, by the way.
No. It draws a pretty picture.
He draws a picture or spells a word or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quickly, 2.26, because we have some other ones to get to tonight. 2.26, legacy cache types. In geocaching, the word legacy refers to something that is allowed to remain active based on a rule or guideline. And we joked about before the show, there are no rules.
Just
I'm not sure what rule they're referring to. It's all guidelines. Based on a rule or guideline that has since changed or no longer exists. Even legacy caches should continue to be good examples of geocaching. They remain active. I thought this was interesting. They remain active as long as their owners maintain them and the placement doesn't cause problems in the community. I don't know what happened, because the last of the locationless, and I don't remember how many there were. It didn't get down to one. There was multiple locationless caches that were still active, and they just obviously they let the cache owners know, but they basically killed all of them. The last, I don't know, however many were left, 8 or 12 or 16, or whatever it was. There was an amount, and they killed the end of them. So I don't know, okay, which we talked about before. If we ever got down to 8 or 10 or 12
webcams, if they would do that,
kill them.
Yeah, Cache Canada says 2 dozen or so. I think is what he said.
A couple dozen. Okay, yeah. So yeah, exactly. I'm thinking they might kill it.
So before we jump a little bit further into this, Samantha asked, what's a power trail? A power trail is a long string of caches. Generally, originally it was along a power line trail, and it would be every 1/10 of a mile there's a cache, and people just it's a numbers run. That's just really what it is. There's one here that goes from Millington to Dyersburg. I know that for those that aren't in the area, that doesn't tell you anything, but it's along a road, and they're basically about every 2/10 of a mile going north, and on the opposite side of coming back, it's still 2/10. So it's still 1/10, but you can go get all the ones on the going north, and then you turn around and you get all the ones coming south on the other side of the road.
That's clever. That's really clever to do.
So yeah,
to make it easier when you're traveling. So
yeah,
very cool. Even legacy caches, you can see legacy caches that cause problems or are no longer supported by HQ are eligible to be archived regardless of their legacy status. That's probably how those ones fell in. They were no longer supported, so they killed them. I don't know. But there's a listing in the show notes, which are also in the we took from the guidelines. Locationless caches. Since 2006, all locationless caches are closed to new logs on geocaching.com. However, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of geocaching, a single locationless cache will be available and has been available for a while now. Signal the Frog, GC8 Frog is available. It's GC8FR0G is the
I don't know.
GC code. Is it not an O? It's a 0, isn't it?
I think so. We can always type it in.
I'll pull it up now.
Yeah, I'm on here right now too. I will do a search too. And the way you get that one is
a 0. Yeah, it looks like a 0.
Is it a 0? Okay.
Yeah.
The way that you would get that one is by a sign. You have to at a mega. Correct. There would be a specific sign that you get a picture, do a selfie with, and you submit that to it, or if Signal's actually at the event, it's a picture with you with actual Signal.
Right.
And now there's actually another one too.
Yes, GC8 Neat. Is it 8?
And that GC Neat, isn't it? It's for doing a CETO. You can do it when you're doing a CETO. You get a picture of yourself at the CETO.
Yes. So there's a couple of them that you can log. There's again, there's guidelines. If you go to the webpage for those, you will find the information about how to log them.
Brian says GC8 Neat.
Yeah.
GC8 Neat.
Yes. So that's perfect. And they're kind of cool. I mean, I'm kind of glad that they've sort of brought back a couple of them. Maybe they'll add some more. If you go look, there's a little. They're all located. It's locationless, but the icon is located in Seattle. I think it's near headquarters.
Kermit the Frog does not count. I think that's what Tom is saying.
Correct. You cannot do that. Now, if you picked Kermit the Frog up off the side of the road, threw him in a trash bag, and then took a picture.
Not a live Kermit the Frog.
We're not supporting killing Kermit the Frog. But yeah, the GC code GC8 Frog FR0G. So
we're answering Mini Mag's question. What is the Signal's GC code?
Correct. All right, that's kind of cool. Let's get and then the other one we want to mention tonight in this section is challenge caches, and it says no icon.
Jeff, you might explain a little bit more on that one.
Why does it say no icon? Is there an icon for challenge caches?
Or was there used to be?
It just says in the notes, in the guidelines, the help center, challenge caches, no icon. Challenge caches published prior to August 2015 are considered legacy caches and may have additional logging requirements. And there's a link in the show notes to where you can go for those requirements, or I guess they're examples of requirements that require further documentation. And so a lot of you'll find challenge caches that are what they considered prior to the moratorium. If you ever hear that phrase, what they're referring to is that there was a moratorium on challenges for a period of time, and then they were brought back. And so
right,
a challenge cache falls into either the before the moratorium or after the moratorium. So if it's before the moratorium, they had kind of their own, there's rules guidelines that were followed prior to the moratorium, and there was some after. Go watch Challenge Talk and you can see all that information. So
right, and those usually don't have the checkers on them.
Typically, right, they do not, because they weren't required to have them, and a lot of times they didn't have anything to do with those. So yeah.
Now something, and I hope this is what this means on Cachely 7.0. We're talking about checkers.
Yeah.
And Cachely 7.0 is supposed to have the checkers actually built into the app itself,
which is
what
cool.
I understand, which is really cool. Because right now, to do the checker, a lot of times you have to jump over to Project GC to be able to do it. Now it looks like you might be able to just do it straight from the app on these checkers. So,
pretty slow.
And I can't wait to hear from Nick that to clarify if that's exactly what that is, because I'm hoping it is.
Yeah,
that's what I read in there. So just want to make sure.
Yeah, and there may be some folks on tonight, or even listen, of course, later. But there might be people on tonight who are part of the Cachely beta.
It's a puzzle checker, not a challenge checker.
Oh, okay, cool.
I wonder how difficult it would be to make that other jump, though, now that he's got that one.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
So anyway, yeah. So they're still available. I mean, there's several. I think the Texas Challenge is considered, that particular cache is falls under the before the moratorium. I don't think you can do the same rules. Some of the rules that were not available then are now required. So you'll find that you'll see where there's, and you can still, claim the cache. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You'll just see that there's some. You can't just assume that if you find a cache and you go, oh, I want to repeat that. You have to kind of double check and make sure that it's not one of the older, more before the moratorium challenges. So,
right.
All right, let's get into Earth caches. Woohoo! A favorite of many, a bane of some. Everybody, I don't think it's completely split.
No, I like them. There's just there's not a lot around here in Memphis, and when on that 6.66 mile hike, we were looking. We might have found a place to do one, but we don't know. So we're gonna try, and Jesse's gonna help me draw it up and put it together, and we'll submit it and see if it actually flies or not. But we'll see. Yes,
we know. Cache Canada, Android is not second class. We know. It's just apples and oranges. Some people like oranges. Some people
apples and little robots.
Right, apples and little robots. So there you go. Yeah. So Earth caches are unique because of, many reasons. But one of the things is an Earth cache provides an Earth science lesson through a visit to a unique geological feature. For example, I don't know how they worded this word. It's worded weird in the help desk or the help center. I keep saying help desk. It's in the help center. For example, and ideas, see our list of 11 stunning earth caches. There's a link for that. Or add these earth caches to your bucket list. There you go. To complete the earth cache guidelines. To complete, earth cache guidelines are available in multiple languages on the GSA website. Link available. Here are 4 guidelines to keep in mind. Earth cache permission. There's information there about earth cache permission. Earth cache page and how you do an earth cache page. Also, many links in the show notes for these items. So you can obviously go to the help center, but if you want to make it quick, you can go directly to our show notes and you'll see them. They'll be up after the show in the show notes section. Earth cache proximity. This is something that I think that doesn't necessarily get thought of a lot. You can place an earth cache near a physical geocache, which is right. It's true, but content is more important than physical proximity. If an existing physical geocache or earth cache highlights the same feature as a new earth cache submission, the reviewer may reject your earth cache submission. We talked about that with GeoAware, the father of earth caches, on the show back in February.
I think that's when it was, yeah.
And he mentioned that there's certain geological formations, like in Minnesota, that they kind of once you do a couple hundred of those, they're like, okay,
we're done.
Don't need any more submissions for that. So
there's only 5 on, and I'm joking about this. There's only 5 on. I just drew a blank of it. Niagara Falls, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or Old Faithful. That was what I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's certain ones that you cannot. They just like, there's already one out there for that. Go find something else somewhere.
Right, and I agree with some of the people in the chat where they're saying, it was Teresa that was saying, I like them until I'm having to spend 30 to 45 minutes answering questions on one. If I'm having to write a doctoral thesis on one,
yes,
I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'll go and go, hey, that's really cool. I'll go and look at the place. But if I'm having to spend that much time writing it up, and because we're sitting there having to write it on our phone,
yeah,
I got fat thumbs, and that doesn't work out too well.
I think you would only if you're somebody like Cache Canada who's trying to do a fizzy grid.
Yeah.
Of all earth caches, if you're gonna do a fizzy grid and you're like committed to doing an earth cache fizzy grid, you're gonna do a 5.5 earth cache.
Yeah, they were saying here they about died on a 4.53.
Right. Yes, that can happen. You gotta be careful on some of those because they're crazy. Some of those earth caches, but anyway, vacation earth caches. You can submit an earth cache for a location that is far from your home if you visit the site no more than 2 months before the submission. This is what the guidelines say. The reviewer may reject the submission if cache maintenance seems likely in the future, which can't do. I mean, it's a virtual, so
right.
I don't know why they're putting it in that way. I think they cut and pasted from something else. But another common mistake with vacation earth caches is that cache owners forget to check the local rules for geocaching. Make sure to get the necessary permissions. Yes, something else that I found, I put a couple in town here, and what Jesse helped me to do them. And he said, all right, you have to do things a little bit differently. You have to go get explicit permission for these different locations. And I go, oh, okay. So it wasn't too difficult, but I had to go contact somebody. So you can't just go, oh, I think I'm going to put an earth cache here.
Right.
Yeah. Jeff has one in Ireland, so there's an example. And he doesn't have to, and he's
Iceland.
not going to. Oh, Iceland. Sorry, yeah, not Ireland. Iceland.
The other I country.
But now, what's interesting about that is that it's the land of fire and ice, so there's a potential that his Earth cache might disappear someday under lava, and he would need to archive it then, right?
Maybe. Depends if it's on a glacier or on a volcano.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a volcano on a glacier.
Yeah.
Kind of.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have seen where they literally had to archive an Earth cache because, the
mountain slid off.
Yeah, the mountain slid off, and that location was no longer available. The items were gone, so
right.
It could happen. It's possible. So
it's geology. It does change. Usually it's slow.
Change. Yeah.
Usually it's slow, but sometimes it does get sped up.
Mount St. Helens was slow for a while, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. Almost overnight, things changed. So
there's Jeff's Earth cache, GC 6ZPR, the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger. See how you did that? That's really tricky.
Yep.
The Lone Ranger.
Rangar.
The Lone Ranger. Clever.
Yeah. Yep.
Clever. We talked a little bit about Earth caches. Direwolf. Just know that 1,000 years from now, you may have to archive it.
Yep.
You're erratic. Yes, you're exactly right. So don't get too attached to it because it may be gone in a millennia. So, all right. And we talked about event caches some previously. So, all right. I think we've gone.
Drangar.
Yeah, but it looks like the Lone Ranger. So don't want to ruin it.
Did you do another one called Hi Ho Silver?
Right. There you go. All right. So we're wrapping up now for tonight.
Well, we have one more cache type that we haven't talked about.
Go ahead. Which one was that? Which one would you have to do?
Event caches.
Oh, event caches.
But then it says for another show.
That's for another show. Now we could we kind of talked about it a little bit. But,
yeah.
What was the other one that I was going to mention? Oh, you had asked earlier about one of the attributes, which was the lost and found.
Right.
That attribute, you're like, I don't have that attribute. Can I create one? It's like, no, unfortunately, that's a HQ 10th anniversary deal.
Right.
But I think that they should bring back that attribute for 25 or whatever
or whenever they do.
If they do 2022, I mean, at this point,
the 2020 for the 2022, 2022. Actually, no, it wouldn't be 2022. It'd be 2023.
Yeah, no, it's not rescheduled yet. Have you looked to see? I don't think it's been rescheduled.
No, it hasn't been.
I think they're debating. Maybe I'm just spitballing here. But
I mean, it's at this point, if it goes to next year, you're closer to 25 than you are to 20.
Well, it's going to be next year.
I know, which means you're closer to 25 than you are to 20 now.
So should you just
go to 25?
Should just sort of reconnoiter and come at it again.
This is our 20th anniversary plus 3.
Yeah, I went to look real quick to see. Tri-Cities is September 4th, in case people are wondering. Don't forget about the Georgia. There's two this year in Georgia. You're going to both of them.
Yep, I'll be at both of them. You got the Jackson County. I want to say agricultural, but it's not. That's not right. It is agricultural gadget trail.
Yes.
That's going to be out there. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's a kickoff. The maze is there as well. And I've seen some of these gadgets, and they didn't actually have gadget builders necessarily build these. They've had people that do robotics and other woodworkers by trade. They're not actually they're not even cachers really.
Right.
But they have created some of these phenomenal gadgets that I can't wait to go play with. And they are absolutely huge. I mean, some of them, I saw a picture of them. They're like 3 feet by 5 feet tall. and it's a whole cache. And so those look really, really cool. And then of course, that's in the beginning of September. And then at the end of September, starting that week, it goes over to October, is Going Caching.
Going Caching, yes. And I will be there, and you'll be there.
Yep.
And Chad will be there.
Right.
Bounce. And
Emily will be there.
Emily Renee will be there.
Jeff may try and break the border and get down there somehow. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, Jeff may break the border and come on down. But we're getting ramped up and very excited about the Roaring 20s. We're going to do Can I spill the beans on this?
I don't know if we can yet.
Can you push the button? Come on. Let me spill the beans. It's okay.
Okay, but we're not going to spill all of them.
Not all. No. I can spill it. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go.
Oh, no. Gary just spilled the beans. Go for it.
So I didn't spill the whole vat. I just grabbed a little bit and threw it on the ground. But we're going to do a special Geocache Talk show, which is in coordination with Going Caching, which is really cool. We're going to do a 1920s style show.
Yep. Right before the
skit.
The skit, the play,
the show
on Friday night.
The Friday night play. We're very excited about that. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
The warm-up show.
We're the warm-up band for the. But we're gonna do a lot of the old school sound effects.
He's starting to talk too much, so I just pulled him out before he starts spilling too many beans. All right, Gary, I'm gonna bring you back in. I'm gonna take you out of timeout now, but here you go. I'm bringing you back in.
So that's that. So I just want to know, I know everybody. Wait, was I off for part of that? I don't. Okay, well, never mind. Oh well, there you go. Yeah, like an old radio show. Exactly.
Yeah. That's all you're gonna get. No more, Gary.
That's all. There you go. Not the whole vat. Just a little bit. Smack his mic.
I can't reach that far. That's why I took him out of the show.
That's right.
I have that power.
Again, the most of the cache types are under the 2.2 the 2.0 section. We'll call it that. I guess learn about cache types. If you're looking for earth caches, though, they're under the 4.0 part of the help center. In case you're wondering, like, where's out earth caches? You can always obviously search through the help center. There's a search function for it. But anyway, all right. I think we're done tonight. We are going to be talking more about Jackson County, the mega. We're going to have Anpo on for a little bit. I think next week we're also going to have on Sean from Right in the Rain. He's going to tell us a little bit more. Right. He's got some cool products he wants to show us that he thinks will be great for folks who might be interested in purchasing. So it's always good to hear from the actual people because they can kind of give you more info.
Yeah,
we can ask them questions. Like if you really, which is great. You can ask them about a couple of the products he wants to show. So
right. And I'll never forget when Chad and I were doing one of the Right and Rain promotions for Gadget Talk, we literally let the paper soak in the water for over a week, and we were still able to write underwater into it with a pencil. A pen doesn't necessarily always write underwater, but we're able to do. But Right and Rain does have a pen that does, and there's some other pens that you can do it as well. But we actually were able to write underwater right onto the paper itself. So and it hadn't deteriorated. It was really cool.
Yeah, great product. So, all right, we'll see everybody Tuesday night, Puzzle Talk. We're going to be covering some puzzles that are out there that are just lonely. Nobody will ever find them yet. So somebody needs to go find them. So that's our show for Tuesday. And so there you go. Check out all the shows, geocachetalk.com to get all the latest. And there we go. We're done.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
May your finds be many, and your DNFs be few. May the terrain and difficulty both be less than 2. And whatever it is you're looking for, may it find its way to you. And may we all meet again.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.